Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening and welcome into the Buccateers podcast. I'm your host, Tampa Tones. We got Stunna in the building, one of our co-hosts, and we'll see if anyone else is able to join from our co-host. But nonetheless, we got a special guest today, Real Talk Perez. So we're very excited to talk with him about some Buccaneer football, to recap the Dolphins week, and kind of kick off the Titans week appropriately. So, nonetheless, you guys are tuned into the Buccateers. We're going to roll the intro, and we'll be right back live on Bucs Life News Facebook, Buccateers YouTube, and so much more. Thank you. Game on Sunday, man. I know you're nervous for the Rams, but you got to be a little enthusiastic after being there.
Bro, that game atmosphere was ridiculous. The energy, the electricity. That place was rocking. Anyone was there, and a lot of the Super Buck fans were there too. The Bug.
Tampa Tones. We are joined by Lead Goon tonight, host of the Pat and Aaron Show of WDAE, Pat Donovan. And it sounds like Stunna is bumbling a little bit. Going to put him on mute for a second until that gets a little clear. But we're joined by Pat
It looks like
Donovan.
Stunna's hanging out with Cheech and Chong in a car with the windows up or something over there.
It does look like we got a little.
No, my camera's broke.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are tuned into the Buccateers. Once again, Proud Life members of Bucs Life News on Bucs Life News Facebook, on Buccateers YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter at Buccateers, Instagram Buccateers Pod, and YouTube Buccateers Podcast. Keep up with us on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Deezer, Anchor, and so much more. We are the Buccateers. Without further ado, special guest tonight, Real Talk Perez, is kind enough to join us, take some time out of his busy schedule. How you doing, our friend? Welcome to the show, to the Buccateers. Tell the good people where they can keep up with you and your content at all over the place.
I'm doing good. Thanks for inviting me to talk some Buccaneers football. You can reach me, Real Talk Perez, Twitter, YouTube, Real Talk Perez. That's all you got to put it all together, throw it on there, search for me, you'll find me.
You got anything coming up in the queue for your shows, or not really?
Well, yeah, not really. I kind of go week from week, pretty much. I used to do a lot, but now I'm kind of just every week after a game, I'll put it out there what I think happened in the game, or if I feel a story, I might put a video out if I feel a story coming on, or if I get some weird vibes. I'm kind of a conspiracy guy when it comes to football sometimes. So yeah, so every once in a while I'll come out of the blue and do something, but most of all it's pretty much week to week after every game, analyzing the games.
And that's fun talk. Yeah, I mean, never a bad thing after Bucks games, mostly wins nowadays. Everyone wants some content to tune into, so definitely check out Real Talk Perez, ladies and gentlemen, on his post-game thoughts. It mainly seems like, so we'll for sure do that. Yeah, but seems like so much Buck stuff out there nowadays, podcast and whatnot. But we've been a fan of yours for a while now. Stunna has been a fan of yours. I know we followed each other for quite some time now, so definitely good to get you on and talk some football. And we've had a summer full of let's just say ideas that can lead to conspiracies for our Buccaneers or whatnot. So it's been a crazy one. Anything before we get going on our agenda here? Any stories this summer in particular catch your eye about our Buccaneers more so than others in terms of the Brady thing, the Arians thing, or anything like that?
I mean, pretty much. Hey, we're all Bucks fans. Pretty much the same stories you guys are thinking about is the same stories I'm thinking about. I will say this. Obviously we're gonna talk about the Brady situation. A lot of the rumors that are going around. Before there was rumors about YBA quit, now we got rumors about why Tom Brady's leaving. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll talk about it though.
Yeah, it's really interesting. A lot of moving parts this offseason. BA was out. Brady was back and forth. Gronk was out. So just a lot of stuff going on in Tampa Bay this offseason. Mike chimes in. Thanks for watching. Mike says, can't wait for week 3 home opener coming in from Canada. Go Bucks. That's going to
Nice.
be incredible for you, Mike. I mean, you're going to see a hell of a game against the Green Bay Packers that week. So after the Bucks have to and look at that hat right there. Nice hat.
I like his avatar. Nice avatar.
Yep, you got the hat there, hat in the avatar. Stunna, we'll bring you in now. How you doing, our friend? Can you hear us all right? Maybe not. Maybe.
Hear you loud and clear, buddy. What's going on?
Oh, there we go. We got you in. How we doing, my friend? How was dinner and everything?
Oh, man, just excited, ready to talk about the Buccaneer preseason outing. I think we got the deepest wide receiver class in the NFL this year. And, I think we run too much cover one, but that's something we're going to talk about.
Yeah, definitely. There were some things that we could definitely work on a little bit, but it was a lot of backups playing and whatnot. So that's another thing. Preseason week 1 nowadays is like, you, as Jameis would say, you better check your sheet because a lot of the players are going to be unidentifiable unless you're like one of us, a diehard. Then you know them like the back of your hand. But Real Talk, Perez, in your case, or in your mind, I'm sorry, did anyone stick out to help their case to make the Bucs roster this week? Anyone in your eyes stick out in practices or in the preseason game with Miami that you said, okay, maybe coming into this week, this guy might not have had a great shot to make the team, but now when it's all said and done, their stock definitely rised at least a little bit.
Yeah, I think there was a few actually. I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but I will say Devin Tompkins, I think a lot of people have been looking at him and talking about him in training camp and stuff like that. I don't think he did so much. Well, I'll speak for myself as far as myself. I seen him with a few glimpses of being a punt kick returner, and I really liked his shiftiness and how he looked as a punt and kick returner. And I'm really hoping that he does enough to maybe find a spot on the roster. I know they have Jalen Darden as the number 1 kick returner. And Jalen Darden is actually looking good too now as a wide receiver, not just as a special team. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys heard Geiger, is that how you say it? Geiger as well, number 80.
Yep.
He was doing pretty good too. So those guys are the ones that I'm kind of looking at, like who's going to steal that spot if they can, depending about the numbers, what kind of wide receivers they're going to get. Do they want to keep more than just the 4 outside wide receivers? Do we want to keep a 5th outside wide receiver? How many slot receivers are we going to keep, besides Gage? So depending on the numbers, to see if one of those guys can maybe steal a spot.
Yeah, and Halen Geiger is a great friend of the shows. We had him on a couple weeks back, actually. It was incredible to talk to Kalen and pick his brain about his journey and everything. And Stunna and I were the ones there. We were talking to him, and we knew he'd be ready for the moment. He was prepping like crazy. He was pretty confident with guys like him and Tompkins and Stearns, and you're not even including a Brashad Perriman and guys like that who are hurt right now. Cyril Grayson was banged up a little bit early, but he's been back. So it's going to be, like you said, it's one of those situations where you already got your top 4 locked in, and then you kind of got to look at the rest of the field. Usually you carry 6. The Bucs honestly should consider carrying 7, especially if they're going to use Darden as a return man, which it seems to be at this point in time. Also, shout out to Cleveland and Billy Mignon watching. We appreciate you guys tuning into the Buccateers. But once again, it's going to be a wide receiver battle of a lifetime. I do agree with that. I think Kalen Geiger impressed with his receiving. I think Tompkins impressed in this week with the shiftiness, more so on returns, like you alluded to and whatnot. And then, we didn't mention Stearns yet either. Mike says, despite the loss yesterday, I'm happy with the Bucs' 2nd and 3rd stringers. Stunna, any wide receivers catch your eyes in yesterday's performance or in this week of practice? And we mentioned Geiger and Tompkins a little bit. Anyone else come to your mind?
Well, obviously T-Money. I mean, he was number 5 in all fantasy receivers for the weekend.
The guy I was really looking forward to seeing was Cade Otton. I thought he did a pretty good job. Tyler Johnson's T-Money. And so I thought he did a pretty good job other than that one drop where he could make a contested hit. And I think the guys that stood out the most to me was our edge, Gill, and Anelli did really good. I thought 48 was doing pretty good until he got hurt. And I was looking for more out of K-Britt, number 52. He got to play a little bit extended time, but I was looking for him to really make some impact plays. You know, if he's going to be like a young Devin White or somebody to that magnitude. But I thought our secondary could have done better. I know we ran cover one like the whole night, though, so that's kind of hard when they were running drags and stuff and square ends. But you got to be able to stop those plays, man. That's part of football. And, I thought that we did a great job containing the handoffs. And, I thought our backs did really good until, 38 or whatever got in there. I didn't know who that was. But I thought our starting caliber backs did a real good job as well.
Are you referring to Kenyon Barner, perhaps, or somebody else even? But nonetheless.
Yeah, Barner. But Chad had a great night, man. Chad White, other than the interception. And he should have just slapped that on the ground. Likewise, Trash should have thrown that thing in the stands. So that was just unfortunate. And we sitting on the, we on the field, we thought that was BS, and that wasn't no pick. And then we thought the pick that we had that they said was incomplete was a pick. So, but maybe that's from a fan's perspective. I don't know what it looked like at home on the television. But we definitely thought that.
That was actually
what happened, Perez? Go ahead.
Don Gardner, who I also believe. I think it's a little bit harder for him to make it, but I think if you actually watch that game again and just focus on 36? Yeah, 36. Don Gardner, he's playing out there. Like he doesn't look like he's nervous about the situation or he's trying to make a team. He looks like he's out there just playing football. And I noticed him before that, he almost get the interception on the sideline. There's a play where they throw like a little bubble screen to the wide receiver and he shoots out like a missile trying to tackle him. The guy breaks the tackle and then everybody else gets him and brings him down. But just his play out there, he doesn't look nervous. He doesn't look like he's a rookie or I don't know what year he's in, but he's looking like he's out there trying to be a dog out there. So keep an eye maybe on the next preseason game, or if you want to watch the preseason game that just happened, watch it again. Take a look at number 36, keep your eye on 36 and see how he's playing. And he's looking like he's out there trying to make a spot.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful thing about.
Well, that's good because Zion got burnt. Zion McCullough, number 27, got burnt. So I kind of, I had high hopes for him. So that's maybe somebody else, one of them other young guys will step up.
And that's what you hope for in preseason, really, to hope that you see a guy step up. Number 36, now that you mention it, eye-popping guy last night for sure. There were a couple other good performers. A linebacker played pretty well. I'm going to butcher his, I think, number, I forget number exact. Yeah.
Fadakukasi or something. Fadakasi or something like that.
Yeah, Fadakasi.
Yeah.
He had a really good game. Your thoughts real quick on him, Perez?
They had a camera on him and that man looked like he was about to just drop on the field dead. Like he looked super tired, but he was running all around the field, man. He was running like his hair was on fire. So it's definitely something you like to see. That was another one where I was like, man, he looks like he's really trying to make a name for himself. So that's another one you should definitely keep your eye on for sure.
Stunna, you were at the game. Was there any talk about a number 36 or Fadakasi going on around the stands, and any buzz about any other names perhaps? Before we move on, we got a couple questions or comments to get to.
I think everyone just wanted to see the quarterback play, Trask, and see how he did. And as far as around the stands, it was a pretty mixed crowd. There were quite a few Dolphin fans in attendance. So, I sat next to a former Dolphin player. So we just kind of had a bunch of back and forth. But, it don't matter, man. When you go to a Bucs game, it don't matter if it's, preseason or what. That thing is loud because our fans are rowdy. Our fans are rowdier than the average fans. And then my biggest takeaway from being at the stadium is that the north end zone that's closed in now with the stands, it makes the stadium look bigger.
So there's a lot more fans in the stands this year. So the crowd noise should be more intense.
One quick thing I want to just talk about Zion McCollum real quick. One of the press conference that Devin White was doing after training, one of the practices, he would talked about how he's trying to learn how to stay focused and not be I don't know if he said bored or I think that's what it was, like not get bored at practice. Like his mind is kind of like wandering off because he's like doing everything in practice and then he kind of just gets bored and then a play happens to him. And I think that happens sometimes, and I think that might have been a little bit of what happened with Zion, because the whole since he was on the field, I was watching him because I think that's something everybody wanted to watch was him, and he was on his man. I mean, and he looked like he was running with his guys very, very easily, just shadowing them. That play that he got scored on, the wide receiver Bolden, I think it was, did a double move on him. And it could have been one of those things where he just like, okay, I got him. And then boom, there goes the other move. And he just took off, So I'm low key kind of glad that it happened if it was that situation where it was like he just kind of got bored out there because they weren't throwing his way. He was stuck to his guy the whole time for the whole time he was out there. So it's kind of one of those, welcome to the NFL. Any play at any moment, it could be a touchdown on you. So stay focused. So if it was that situation, I'm kind of glad that got that double move on you. Hey, rookie, wake up, stay awake, stay focused.
Yeah. What do they say? Hey, rookie, welcome to the NFL. That could be one of those things where, like you said, he like Devin White alluded to, you're out there. Not that you're not caring or paying attention, but
Right.
sometimes you need to wake up a little bit. And like you said, better in preseason to have that happen than come week one. You're against Dallas and you get a guy slip behind you on a double move or something just because you're like that. So I'm not. And Bowden is fast as well. He's a guy who is a speedster. So, he's one of those hybrid types as well. So that's definitely a good point there. Something to watch as we move on. If he learns from that, then we do know that it's probably like Real Talk Perez is alluding to, one of those things where he's in the Devin White type mindset. But if not, maybe Stun is more in the right boat. Hey, maybe it was concerning, but that's what these practices against the Titans will be for this week. That's what the game against Tennessee and Indianapolis will be for as well. So we want to shout out as well. Tyler Sharp tuned in on Facebook. And I think, Stunna, you mentioned a good point in Tyler Johnson. He had a couple, high prized catches in that first half where it really mattered, and I think he showed not only strength but speed out there as well, and he really needs to have a good camp, because to me he was one of the biggest disappointments on the Bucs last year was Tyler Johnson. I think we had a lot of high hopes for him, and I know he didn't get ample amounts of opportunity last year, but when players went down and guys got hurt, he was one of those guys you kind of just expected a big game from eventually, and you never really got that with Tyler Johnson. I think he maxed out around the 60-yard receiving mark in one game last year. So we'll keep an eye on him and see if he continues to try and help his case to make the team. We got a couple comments, quick Real Talk. Don't forget Jareth Stearns. Any opinions on Stearns? He caught a touchdown and looked pretty good yesterday as well. He's a guy who's going to be in the Tompkins, Geiger, Grayson battle perhaps to try and make not only the roster but even have a chance at cracking the practice squad.
I'll say this, you can make a big thing or not make a big thing about the fact that Kyle Trask drove down the field, for that game-winning field goal, but there's always someone on the other side of those throws. Not only does your quarterback have to be clutch, but the other person catching the ball has to be clutch. And he was one of those guys that was catching those balls to get the third down conversion. So, I mean, it wasn't like he went off like, as Stunner says, team money, but I mean, that's got to count for something. You get the touchdown, which was a beautiful throw, but also for that game-winning drive, I mean, he was a key point. He was a key part of that. So that's got to help him.
Definitely got to help him. Stunna, any thoughts on Stearns? And I agree with you, Real Talk Perez. Everyone's talking about Trask. He did have a nice and effective game, but it's about those wide receivers making the moves, getting open, and helping out the quarterback. And to me, all those undrafted guys, especially, you could tell they're hungry out there. The Geigers, Stearns, and the Tompkins of the world. Stunna, what say you about Stearns?
I think Stearns had a decent, above average to almost great performance. He definitely had a great catch there where he took it out of the guy's hand. But I think Geiger's a little better at separation and the route running. So I think they're both great players, and man, I hope it's going to be like I said. We got some great receivers. It's going to be really challenging to see who we get to keep and who goes, because guys like Perryman, I think you can't make the club in the tub, and so some of these guys that we expected to make it might not make it, and some of these newcomers, these rookies, are going to come in and take those spots, and hopefully they can rise above it in the grandest stage we get in the regular season. I thought with Kyle Trask's performance, I really wasn't upset about the turnovers. I'm more upset about him underthrowing Scotty Miller down the sideline. And I thought he did really good, with a dink and dunk. And looking at our offense, I can see, this looks a lot like what Tom Brady ran in New England. So, it's an easy offense. It's quarterback-friendly offense. But, the knock on Trask coming out of college was a deep ball. I was kind of saying he didn't have that deep ball to Miller time up the sideline. But, like I said, man, he's good. He's a good receiver, and I think we have some great receivers on the squad, and it's really going to be sad to see who we have to cut.
Yeah, and you make a good point there by, talking about him underthrowing Scotty Miller, perhaps, because Scotty Miller was really close in the game to have, a couple receptions for a couple touchdowns and long ones at that, but some underthrows, some overthrows. So this next question prompted is a good one for us before we keep wiggling down the chart. We are here talking with Real Talk Perez on the Buccateers podcast, proud members of Bucs Life News. But Scotty Miller, the odd man out. I hope not. I like Scooter. I think all Bucs fans, have a soft spot for Scooter because of some of the excitement he has brung to the table over the past couple years. Even when Jameis was here, Scotty Miller showed some flashes, down the sideline. I remember before he got hurt, him and Jameis were really quite clicking, and then you see Scotty and Tom in 2020 have a fantastic year. Then to me, it kind of looked like Scooter was a little banged up all of last year, although, they didn't play it like that. I think he was. I've seen him in person in the Indianapolis game. He did have a big punt play in that game, but he never looked quite right at wide receiver last year. He kind of looked a little slow, a little sluggish and whatnot. So we'll see if number 10 could rebound. Perez, we'll start with you. Do you think Scotty Miller, if we had to make roster decisions today, what do you think the fate on Scotty Miller would be?
I think he's getting phased out. The thing with Scotty is Scotty's actually an outside receiver. He's not the best at route running, so his route running is more effective when he's able to utilize his speed. And you can utilize your speed way more when you're on the outside, because when you're on the outside, they're scared of that go route. So you can, fake that go route and then do whatever try to route run you want to do. But they want him to be a slot receiver. He's not that effective in the slot, because when you're in the slot, you can't just use your speed. You have to use the timing right. You have your outside receivers running their routes, and then the slot has to time their route, right to be where you're supposed to be in the spot where Tom Brady's going to want you at a particular time. So when you're asked to time up your route like that, you're not able to use your speed and be dangerous. You have to really be able to just turn your hips, route run real good. That's why I think he's getting phased out, because these other guys like Tompkins and Jalen Darden and all these other guys are a little bit more shiftier and quicker to move in that slot area. Again, I think Scotty's a good wide receiver. I just think he's more of an outside wide receiver that fits his skills as a runner better, and we just don't got room for that. We got Julio and everybody else and Mike and so we don't got room for that. And I think he's just getting phased out as they're trying to make him a slot receiver, and these other guys are just like fitting that role a lot better.
Yeah, and I agree with you. They are the flash and dash, kind of hoping what we've always thought a little bit of what a Scotty Miller would turn into, perhaps, or what a Darden would be last year. Although I think Darden is in for a much bigger, more successful year this year. He's bulked up and all that good stuff. And when you're coming from North Texas, a very good school, high regarded football program. Don't get me wrong, but you're not your tools in the shed aren't going to be as highly touted as, say, if you're coming from an Alabama or Big Ten type school. So Darden kind of had a year last year of warming up to the league, I feel like. And yeah, absolutely, guys like that are a little more crisp, clean in the slot than Scotty Miller. Stunna, what say you? Do you agree that Scooter would be the odd man out, or what's your case? I will say this. I don't want to just flat out cut the guy. I think there is some value there. So if you could try and move him, for a veteran edge, or even a 7th round pick down the road. I know it sounds like peanuts, but it's the pennies on the dollar, better than cutting him in a team like Houston or Indianapolis or Green Bay, scooping him up, because they all need a veteran wide receiver. Stunna, what say you? Scotty Miller, odd man out, or what's his status in your opinion?
I think it'll be him or JD Darden. It's got I don't think you keep both. The thing with Scotty is when he came into the Bucs, he had elite speed, and he was an anomaly because we didn't have a lot of speed at that time. But we've collected speed receivers since then, and Grayson and Perryman and Darden. So another issue is his injury history. He's like a $170 soaking wet. And so last year he missed a lot of time. The Super Bowl year he missed some time. I think the only time he got in 16 games might have been his rookie season, if that. So if you can't put into 16 games or 17 at this point, and you're limited because you're just an outside receiver to run go routes. Back when he was on the team in 2019 or whatever, that would have been great, because we barely had anyone, could do that. But now we have so many people that can fit that role and can do more, although Scotty Miller did a good job as a gunner on the punt team last season. But to me, it's going to be him or Darden, and Darden's a higher draft pick. So you know how that goes sometimes. But go ahead.
Keep going, Stunna.
I just go say we love Scotty because of him getting us into the Super Bowl. He'll always be a fan favorite. Yes. But business decisions are business decisions, and you can't take it personal. You got to look at the production from we don't have the practice film, so we don't know if he what that looked like. So we just got to I have a lot of staff in our confidence in our GM and our front office. So I know they'll do the best thing and try to get what they could get. But I do have a bad feeling that if we try to keep some of these receivers on the practice squad, they're just going to get snatched up.
I've had this conversation with some of my people that watch my channel, and 2 places that they've talked about that would love to have Scotty Miller: Green Bay Packers, Kansas City Chiefs. Especially Kansas City Chiefs. Oh man, that'd be the perfect right there. So
I could see him and Mahomes making some plays happen.
Trade him for Rojo.
Yeah, Rojo might be on the way out. I heard that's another story.
Really?
Yeah, I was not only paying attention to the Bears-Chiefs game a little bit, but it looks like all things aside, Rojo's fallen to perhaps running back number 4 in Kansas City. Ooh. I know they like Isaiah Pacheco a lot, the rookie running back they got. He looks like a Tyreek Hill speedster type for them, but he's out of the backfield. And then for some reason, the Chiefs' loyalty remains high to guys like Jerick McKinnon and Derek Orr, and then they have Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So Rojo is in a running back battle, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure how Rojo's gotten to this point. I know some of his tools may not be sharp in terms of catching and blocking, but he is a hell of a runner. So, some team out there who just needs a pure runner on some downs, he might fit a mold better elsewhere. But in terms of Kansas City, yeah, maybe they could. I mean, they already have Justin Watson, so maybe they'll end up with all the former Bucs: Scotty Miller, Justin Watson, Rojo. We'll see what happens there. But fellas, pivoting a little bit here. We alluded to it a little bit earlier. Tom Brady, all that good stuff going on, wide receiver injuries. So we'll start with you this time, Stunna. Any concerns on your end with the Tom Brady situation in particular, or wide receiver injuries. We've seen Gage get banged up. Obviously, Evans was hobbled. Godwin's coming into the year banged up. Rashad Perriman went down. What's more of the concern, the Brady situation, which I don't think is a huge deal personally, or the wide receiver injuries at this point in time?
I'm more concerned with Russell Gage. We got him in the offseason. He was injured then. We haven't seen a lot for him. He went out of practice. Some people say hamstrings. Some people said an ankle. All right, we know what ankle injuries do to wide receivers, to number 13 in New Orleans and whatnot. As far as Brady, he was, he's getting ready for retirement. We don't know what's going on with his family life. We saw on TV that he got a wife gave him a hard time, but he didn't retire right after the Super Bowl. He got a deal with Fox. The thing with Miami was what it was going to pay him. They said the Fox deal is going to pay him the same amount of money that Miami was offered with the ownership. When you put the money together with what the ownership would have gave him as opposed to the $50 million Fox deal. So I'm not as concerned with Brady. I'm concerned that this is his last year, and I want us to win and to give him a good, going home party with the Super Bowl. And that's my biggest concern, that we don't waste Brady. We don't get him for 3 years to get one championship out of it. But my concern right now more is Russell Gage, because I was really looking forward to see what he got. And if he can't play at all, or misses serious time, then that will be a letdown.
Yeah, my opinion before we get Real Talk Perez in on this as well. I certainly believe that there were some, obstacles and things that needed agreement in order to bring Brady back to play this year for the Bucs, whether it was because he truly was retired or, something grew a minorly sour within the organization. I think that there had to be something done in order to bring Brady back. So when he met with the owners that day overseas, I think one of the stipulations perhaps was, hey, and Todd Bowles would do anything at this point because, his first go around with the Jets wasn't great. Not his fault. Hey, it's the Jets. It's going to happen to damn near any head coach out there. So, and he did have a really good season with Fitzmagic at quarterback. They fell just short of the playoffs. Now, if you're Todd Bowles and you're going to take over a team, who would you rather have, right? Because even if Bruce retires next year, then Todd would have took it over next year without Brady. This team would have looked a lot different, would have not been in that great of shape to compete. Now Bowles has Brady. He probably said, Tom, do what you need to do. I think he's personally having Giselle time. I think he'll be back ready to roll. That's my personal opinion. I'm not too worried about that. And in my opinion, I don't think they really wanted it out there ahead of time, because think about it like this. If you say in June or if you say in July, hey, Tom Brady's going to take this date off, scheduled through this date off, whatever the reasoning may be, whether it's personal time with Giselle or whether it's something going on with his family, you best bet the media such as TMZs and whatnot are going to be camped out around and about those situations. And Brady's not a guy who likes that life light in his face. That was Scott Reynolds, one of his ideas as well. So I kind of share that mindset. So I'm not really, I guess, too concerned with that. It is a little unusual, but wide receiver injuries would be my bigger concern. But at the same time, that's why we brought in a guy like Julio Jones, and that's why he does fit so well here, because not saying he could be a number one for the whole season anymore. If you lose a Mike Evans for a little bit, he could fill in that number one role for a couple weeks. If you lose a guy like Godwin, he could fill in his role. If you lose a Russell Gage, he could do that role. Julio is kind of the guy who could mix and match in so many different ways in this offense now. With at the same time, you don't need to depend on him week to week necessarily, as long as you have one or two other of the big four healthy. So the Gage thing is concerning a little bit, but as long as he's ready to roll week one, they're being cautious with a couple of other guys right now as well. So I'm not too concerned with either, but if I had to choose one, it's the wide receiver injuries, because Brady will still also have 3 weeks to get ready for opening day as well, if the rumored time that he's back is true. So we'll see there. Real Talk Perez, let's get your take on this. Any concerns with TB12 at all, or the wide receiver injuries? And in your opinion, which one is a bigger deal?
Well, let's start with the Brady. I alluded to it earlier. As far as we have BA retiring. There was rumors about why that happened. Then there was rumors about Tom Brady talking to Miami Dolphins. Then we find out that they weren't rumors, that it actually did happen. And then we find out that Tom Brady is going to be absent for the 10 days or whatever. Are any of those related to each other, connected to each other? I don't know. I hope not. If it is somehow we don't know about it, then that'd probably be the bigger problem, because obviously something is going on. Something
Right.
is happening. Um, but I mean, that's just my conspiracy side. It could just be as easy as, I've heard that he wants to go on vacation, or go out with his family, just spend family time, something as simple as that. So I heard, marriage is a little rough right now. Something like that could be something. I don't know. I've heard all kind of stuff. So, but even if that's the thing, that's something that, it is what it is. It's just personal business. You got to do what you got to do. As far as his performance, I don't think it'll affect his performance. I mean, the man, we got to remember, the man came in here and won a Super Bowl with us without a preseason, without any preseasons. Like, we came in here the first year and we won a Super Bowl. So obviously our defense has to get back on par, and I think we will. I think we'll be better than what we were that Super Bowl year. But because of that, I would have to say that the wide receiver situation would be more concerning. When you got Mike Evans, the hamstring, we've been through that many times. Chris Godwin coming back from injury. It's like all these different things by themselves is not concerning.
Right.
But all at once, it's like, okay, we got Mike Evans with the hamstring, Chris Godwin's coming back from injury. Now we got Russell Gage with his hamstring or whatever's happening to him. And then Julio Jones is healthy, but from the beginning, we're worried about his health already just because it's Julio Jones. So with that said, all that together at one time, it's a little concerning, I would think, just a little bit.
Yeah, I do agree there. If it's one at a time, it ain't a huge deal because
Right.
you do have all the bodies, and not that you're ever gonna, string out things, but now in a 17-game regular season where you are pretty primed to win the division, I'm not saying it's gonna be a cakewalk because Saints are always a thorn in the side, but when you are primed to win the division, you could kind of rest a guy here, or you could rest a guy there a little bit, and I think we've seen that last year towards the end with the Leonard Fournette and the running back room a little bit. Some guys weren't playing as often with injuries and whatnot. So we'll see. I do agree, though. A single injury to the wide receiver room, not a huge deal. But with the Gage, the Godwin, the Evans, and then I know Perriman's way down the chart. He's probably out of town now. But there are just a plethora of injuries there. And speaking of injuries, we had a big one take place so early on in camp. As Tyler Sharp says, "What's up, guys? What's up, Tyler?" Awaiting the Jensen news. We've seen it before with the Bucs player. It was and Mike says the Brady situation worries him. So we'll see if we talked him into a little less worrisome. Then he says, "Hey, he's reading our mind, man. We're not even talking about things yet." And then Mike brings up the question. So right as we're about to talk about Jensen, Mike says, is 66 done for the year, or is there hope he may make a return to the season? This is my conspiracy, I guess. Well, this is my prediction. As Paul Heyman would say, this isn't a prediction, this is a spoiler. But I'm going to say this right here. I think that it's going to be a little bit like the Vita Vea situation that happened with us through Super Bowl year. Although Vita went down in season, a lot of people were ho-hum on the status of his injury. You kind of just heard it's going to be a while. It's going to be this. It's going to be that. And then next thing you know, Vita Vea popped up, boom, against Green Bay in the NFC divisional round in the playoffs, and he had a huge impact against them in Kansas City, although not on the field all the time. That was game-changing. So I think they're doing their best to take the Jensen approach cautiously to see, hey, and I know he has leg swelling out the ass right now as well, so they really can't do much in terms of diagnostics right now if they even wanted to because of the swelling. And I'm not a doctor, but I heard it's crazy looking at that stuff swollen. So they're waiting on that to come down. And I also heard that if you put him on IR right now, he'd have to sit out the entire season where if you wait to the regular season and put him in IR, you could designate him to return. So I think the Bucs are going to wait to the regular season. They'll put him on IR. I think they'll designate him to return, not saying anytime soon, but I think a week 16, week 17, week 18 rolls around. I think Ryan Jensen, the tough SOB he is, has a legit chance of coming back. Real talk, Perez. What say you on the Jensen situation?
I think I honestly I hate talking about it because I'm where you're at. I think he's gonna do that same thing, like you said, the whole Vita Vea come back towards the end. And I just don't want to set my heart out to get broken. So I don't like talking about it. I like to just, hey, if it happens, it happens. But yeah, I think the same thing. And I think maybe it's the fan in me, but I'm hearing a lot of people saying, you know what, this is kind of weird. Like he's just walking around. He got a little limp, but he's putting pressure on it. It doesn't look like it's really hurt like that. And like people are just building my hopes up of maybe even sooner than that. Like what's so I put it out there because I like to put positive out there. Hopefully it makes it happen. But then again, I try not to think about it because I don't want to get my heart broken and feel like, but then, hey, Robert Hainsey's not doing too bad right now. You know what I'm saying? He could get better, but they like Robert Hainsey and he's doing his job. So, whatever happens, I just got to put our trust in the coaching staff and hope we make the right moves, man.
I do like Hainsey. He's a good reserve lineman. Notre Dame seems to always produce good Golden Domers at the NFL level on the offensive line. Not so much a quarterback and other positions, but offensive line, Hainsey's built pretty well. But like you said, I don't want to get my hopes up either, so I'm not going to assure that and cement it by any means. But honestly, what gives me a sliver of hope more than anything is Jensen. In theory, before we get Stunna's thoughts on this, Mike says, one smart Canadian. You have been tonight, my friend. You've been on top of your game. But before Stunna gets his thoughts on this, Jensen came back to the Bucs. As much as he loved Tampa, he came here before Brady. Let's not mistake that. But he came back in part because of Tom Brady came back. You never know if Brady doesn't come back. Jensen could be in Cincinnati. Jensen could be in Chicago. A lot of teams are after Ryan Jensen's services, and he could have even made more in other places, perhaps. So to me, that motivates a guy like Ryan Jensen as well, because he's thinking to himself, hey, I came back to play with Tom Brady. I don't think Brady's going to play beyond this year. So if I don't get a couple games with him this year, it ain't going to be next year. And then, why did I come back here? Maybe that's his mindset. You never know. I do think he enjoys Tampa, but he's a winner and a bruiser at the end of the day. Stunna, what say you on your thought process with Jensen? Do you think we see him again this year? Do you think he's going to fight like hell to come back because of Brady? Is there other reasoning going on? What's your thought?
I don't want to speculate. If he tore his ACL, we're not going to see him. But I think if he tore his ACL, he wouldn't be hanging around. He would have got the surgery, and he'd be into his rehab process. So that does give me some hope. Also, remember, we always lose a guy on our Super Bowl run. Unfortunately, we lost Booger McFarland the first Super Bowl. Last time Super Bowl, we lost O.J. Howard. So it's all we never get to the Super Bowl with our preseason roster. But I'm a big but I'm a big Ryan Jensen fan, and I'm a fan and Buccaneer fan, and I hope he can play, and I want to see him get another ring, and he'll get another ring no matter what because he's on the team. But I want to see him play in the Super Bowl and do well, and be part of the reason that we get that ring. And my hope is that it can happen, but. I really don't want to speculate until we know the injury, because if he tore it, it's a big difference if it's a sprain or a tear. If he sprained it, yeah, you're coming back. And like you even said, it's Perez, it's a 6-week injury, so he'll come back in the middle of the season rather than, like what Vita Vea did when he broke his leg. You had to set it, you had to wait for the bone to repair, and it took, basically the whole season for that to happen. But we have a great staff. And I hope that we can get him back on the field. But I'm gonna say that it's unknown in my case until I hear what the injury actually is.
Yeah, and definitely it could be a while. And torn ACL, then we're not going to see him for a while till next season. Obviously, if that is the case, hopefully that's not the case. And it seemed like right away that wasn't the case as well because his dad, Dean Jensen, friend of the show's on Twitter, did come to the defense. Someone tried to put a report out there, said Jensen tore his ACL. They seen it at practice. Dean Jensen came in and said, hold on, not so fast, my friend. My son's diagnosis is not yet out there. So Ryan Jensen's dad's in the same mindset as Stunna on that point. Perez, anything else to add on Jensen before we move on?
Keep them in the prayer circles, fingers crossed, all that stuff you can think of.
Yes, sir. And
but I like to say, Stunna, that was a great gym. I never thought of that we always have someone that's on the roster that doesn't make it because they get injured. That's in our Super Bowl runs. That was a good gym.
Yeah.
And you hate that, right? Because what do we all want just in preseason in particular to have our guys healthy and keep making it? And to get a guy like Jensen to go down in not even preseason, not, just in the training camp, and it wasn't even pads yet. So hopefully we could break the trend and not lose him for the Super Bowl run or the year, but we'll see what happens. I mean, a lot of football on our plate ahead of us. Important roster battles we'll get to in a minute. We got about 14 minutes left. We're going to keep you guys a little past the top of the hour here with Real Talk Perez talking all things Bucs right now and so much more. You could follow him on Twitter at Real Talk Perez, I believe. Isn't that right, my friend?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and me and Stunna aren't important enough to say right now, so we'll get to our at names on the pod. Or no, we'll post them in the we'll post them in the link, the YouTube link, the Apple link, all that good stuff. Mike predicts Jensen will make his return week 13. So that's a cool prediction. Hopefully that's true because that would beat our predictions. So week 13 would give him, that'd be 13, 14, 15, 16, still 6 regular season games to kind of get his feet back under him and see where we go from there. Satino says go Bucs. So thanks so much for joining us tonight. And as always, go Bucs and fire the damn cannons. Mike, I love the show. Very informative. Great job, guys. Thanks for tuning in tonight. We appreciate you, my friend. Don't go anywhere. We still got about 13 minutes left and a couple segments left as well. So we're going to get into roster battles now. We talked a little bit about the wide receivers and how that's going to be a really intriguing battle. So we'll keep our eyes over there. We're not going to get into that battle as much now because we already talked about it earlier on perhaps, but there's been a couple other battles going on. Left guard spot, you have Leverett, he's more doing backup center now, but you got Stinney over there and you got Luke Godeke over there and you got Walton over there. So you got guys competing for left guard, and then center, it's technically a competition with Hainsey and Leverett, kicker Borregales and Suckup before Borregales missed that game-winning field goal perhaps yesterday. That was a tough kick, but man, that really hurts you if you're competing for roster battles. So we'll start with
It was a bad snap on that play.
You think so, Stunna? Bad snap? Bad snap.
Watch it again. In fact, I got it was a bad snap, and I really felt like they jumped off sides too, but it's different from the fans' view. That with your you're at home, it looks different. But if you watch it, it looked like a bad snap from the stands.
So we'll start with you since you're here right now, my friend. Important roster battles. Do you think that's the one to keep an eye on, other than the wide receivers? Since you say Borregales gets a little breathing room with the offsides and the snap, or do you think there's other important roster battles to keep an eye on the roster besides kicker?
Well, if our punter keeps kicking the ball out of bounds on the kickoffs, there might be. Other than that, the guard was playing into the fourth quarter, so I don't really, think I think he's supposed to be a backup. Even though when he drafted him, I was hoping he would be a starter, but it looks like that's going to be Steady's job to lose. Or the Ledbetter or the other guy taking over that you said was a backup center. And other than that, I'm more concerned with our punt team. The special teams were not impressive, and The guy I really been looking at is K-Dot. The tight end situation is the biggest intrigue to me. And I've been telling everybody that Klein was going to play fullback, and that's basically what he was doing, playing the H-back. And because I told people, yeah, Keith, I said we're going to run Tom Brady's offense this year, and if you looked at what we did, we dinging and dunking. So that's Tom's. They said he was a system quarterback because nobody liked the fact that you can't stop a team from doing it. And I was telling anyone to listen to that we're going to run a fullback this year, and we're going to be more ground and pound because that fits in the bowl scheme. So those are the roster situations I'm looking at. I think our defense is pretty much set. The cornerback 2 is going to be an interesting battle on defense. Other than that, it really, I think everybody else is pretty set. But on offensive line, that brings a lot of intrigue, and tight end also brings a lot of intrigue in my mind.
Yeah, I think tight end is a big one. That's a good one because you got a couple veterans and a couple rookies. And you did call it. You said O'Keefe would be used as a fullback type a little bit more, and we've seen that yesterday. And his numbers, body language, and everything kind of is that perfect fullback type build / hybrid tight end. And I think that the Bucs tight end room is honestly shaping up to be better than a lot of people thought, although we lost Rob Gronkowski between the 2 rookie additions in the draft, between getting a Kyle Rudolph than some of these other guys we got out of UDFAs or perhaps from other football outlets like a Bug Howard. They're going to be competing as well. So Real Talk Perez, do you think it's a tight ends like Stunna said, or do you think it's another roster battle outside the wide receivers, of course, that has your eyes glued to it?
I think there's only 2 battles that are important right now. The first one is the O-line. It was Nick Leverett and Stinney going at it, or going at the same time at guard. Nick did not look good as a guard. I think, again, like Stunner said, I think Stinney got that locked up. I think they need to stop playing around, leave Stinney there, and let him get the reps with the ones. Nick did come in, I think it was like in the 3rd quarter. He did come in and was the backup for Hainsey, so he ended up being center. And then Luke Gadecki, or Gedecki, I think that's how they say it, came in for Leverett as the guard. And I thought he did pretty good. Obviously, he's a rookie, so he could do little things better, but I think he did pretty good. But I think another important position, and you touched a little bit on it, is the kicking. Suckup and Ryan and Jose. I don't want to let go of Ryan Suckup. I don't want to let go of something that we know has already been through the Super Bowl with us and has made pressured kicks already, just because this guy has the stronger leg. And I don't want to hate on nobody or nothing like that. Everybody got to eat and get their food and feed their family, but I was glad that he went through what he went through. I'm speaking on Jose at the preseason game, because I was like, okay, game winner, you're up. Are you going to do it? We seen him kick the long one, and then he missed that one. I don't know if it was a bad snap. I need to look at it again. But even if he was to kick all that, I said this on my channel, even if he makes all the game winners in preseason, when we go into the regular season, I'm still going to be nervous, because now this is regular season. This is not preseason. And then if he kicks all the game winners in the regular season, when we get into the playoffs, I'm still going to be nervous, because now it's the playoffs. It's not regular season. And then you know what I'm saying? We already did that with Suckup, to where I know, okay, he's been through it. The stage is not too big. He might not make every one of them, but more than likely he's going to come in clutch and make what we need. So I'm kind of hoping that battle ends, and not to wish bad on anybody, but I kind of just hope it ends and that we say okay, yeah, let's just go with Suckup, because I just don't feel like having to find out if we made the right choice if we end up picking Jose because he has the stronger leg. So that's how I feel about it.
And I'm a big Suckup guy myself as well. Like you said, he's proved that he could kick game winners. He could kick us through the regular season, postseason, and Super Bowl as well. And not that he was great on every kick last year, but he was still pretty good. If you look at his overall body of work, he was pretty good, although some missed kicks, where I think some Bucs fans are like,
game winners, though.
Yep.
And
I
this
think,
was reminiscent of a Hard Knock episode where we had another young kicker missing kicks in preseason.
yeah, Mike alludes to him here. Says Roberto Aguayo had a strong leg. What happened to him? Yeah, I mean, he went to Chicago after Tampa, and that's where all kicking careers go to die, in Tampa or Chicago, it seems. So
Unless you're
Aguayo,
Robbie Gold.
yeah, besides Robbie Gold, but even him, they ousted him eventually in Chicago, and he's still successful elsewhere, and
And the
you know,
Vikings.
yeah, the Vikings too, and they got Greg Joseph. So I agree, though. I think Suckup will ultimately win the battle, and I think he should. I think he's proved it right now. Although I like Borgalis and what he could bring potentially to the table, I'm not
Yeah.
about ready to trade out a certainty for a potential. So I'm in agreement there. I really do hope Suckup wins, and I've been back and forth all camp, but now I am officially in on Ryan Suckup, and they are more reliable. And Mike says the same thing. Veteran kickers are more reliable than big legged rookie kickers. The things with kickers are they're kind of crazy. Kickers are kind of like closers in baseball as well. You could be the best at your position. You could be dominant. You could make 50-yard field goals inside and out. But the minute you get rattled or the minute you lose your mojo, you just lose it. And then sometimes it's like Suckup. If you look at him in Tennessee, I know he was injured a little bit, but he completely lost it at the end there. Then he came to Tampa, regained himself, regained his composure. We've seen that happen here with Matt Gay. So I'm really not ready to see Borgalis come in. And then if he's not good here, then he will go somewhere else. He could become good. Hell, I'd rather just, stick with Suckup. If he goes somewhere and succeeds, Borgalis, good for him. I'd like to try and keep him on the practice squad. Likely wouldn't happen for whatever reason. People like taking our backup kickers.
Real quick, I just want to add this.
Yep.
And it would be a little bit different if it wasn't if we didn't have Tom Brady. If
Yep.
this wasn't a contending team, hey, let's take a flyer on them. You know what I'm saying? If this was a Trask-led team, let's take a flyer on them and see what we got. But right now, we don't need that question mark right now. Not where we're trying to go right now. We don't need that question mark.
I couldn't agree more. With the team led by a guy like Tom Brady, too, he likes to lean on his veterans and his trustees. And obviously, after he wins with Suckup, like Real Talk Perez alluded to, he's going to trust him a lot more. Like back in the day, these were the Jameis Winston days or the Josh Freeman days or the Josh Johnson days when they were all rookie quarterbacks or whatever the case may have been. Sure, you'll roll the dice on some younger kickers like we did at those points in times. When Cairo Santos was younger in his career, you seen us bring him in. A guy like Barth, who was unknown at the time, we brought him in, and so on and so forth. So I think Borgalis would have more of a chance if it was a Trask-led team or a Gabbert 2.0 led team, perhaps. So,
right.
Interesting to say there, but I definitely agree. I think Suckup should win that battle, at least in my opinion. Suckup was really, really good the Super Bowl year, and then last year was pretty good. So Ryan Suckup obviously joined this team as a free agent, and Jason likes making free agent moves after preseason cuts, kind of get in the swing of things, get going. We've seen him add guys time to time again, either right before week one or a little bit into the season. So Real Talk Perez, anyone or any position you could see the Bucs adding in terms of free agency over the coming weeks, or even so perhaps stretching into the regular season a little bit, whether it's guys that might get cut from other teams and you're not so sure who that might be yet, or guys that are remaining free agents right now?
Honestly, I really don't see anything. Maybe some depth at in the O line positions or tackles. Maybe seeing somebody that has a higher ceiling and bring them in or something. Besides that, I kind of like where we're at as far as having a lot of youngsters. A lot of developing players that we're developing, like Elijah Ponder, like Cam Gill, like we have with Anthony Nelson. I like seeing that this staff has people that we can actually look at them like they're the next man up. Now, obviously, Shaq's going to be the guy, and Joe Tryon for a while, but we have people that are behind them that we feel like, man, they're growing, they're getting better. We're seeing these players get better and better. So I think the fact that we have a staff like that, that's good. Let's get these guys that haven't really had a chance. When we got a call on them, they're ready to go. So I don't think there's too many except for the O-line position, maybe.
And Mike's in agreement with you. He says I can possibly see adding a center, perhaps. So, yeah, that's something. Say if a veteran center gets cut from a team out there and he's on the cheaps and wants to try and win a ring, and something happens, maybe we could bring in a center or a guard or something. But personally, I'm for the most part in agreement. I don't see it right now, and I do think I like your mindset as well. Anthony Nelson, Elijah Ponder, Cam Gill. Even JTS, I know he's starting this year, but you need to get all those young guys, all their reps, all their feet wet. If we did bring in a veteran, I'd like an O-lineman or an edge. I don't want to bring in one or necessarily think we need to, but I'd either go O-line or edge if we had to bring one in. And I'm just saying edge based on pure speculation of repetitions and injuries, perhaps, because if a Shaq Barrett did go down right now,
Right.
I do like what I see about, from some of the younger guys, but I'm not so sure I'm ready to just go to battle with JTS and Anthony Nelson and those guys for the whole season. Not saying there are great edges out there either, but Stunna, real quick before we get to Buck Titans and do our closeout, is we're already over an hour now. Holy crap, time flies when you're having a damn good time talking Bucks ball. But Stunna, any free agents to come in your opinion, or are you kind of like us and you think the page might be turned?
I'm like Real Talk. I think our edge is nice. If KJ Britt and the Grant Stewart guy, I like our middle backers as well. I think and I like our safety room. If there was an elite corner that gets cut, I think you take a page out on that, considering what happened last year with our DB situation and where that had us in some jeopardy in some games that we shouldn't have been in. And then I think if O.J. Howard gets put on the practice squad at Buffalo, he might snatch him up. So other than that, I pretty much like our roster. I don't think we're going to – O-line's about continuity, and I think if they were going to make an elite move, they would have already made it. So to me, it'll either be like somebody that has familiarity with a Bucs system like O.J. Howard, or if there's an elite corner out there that's available.
And Mike says 98, I thought had a solid game. Anthony Nelson's been really, really good the past, year and a half or so. I think he keeps growing and into a better player. His developments have been great, and big time pass rushers, man. They put their nose in the ground and they're tough cats. And I think
that was the deepest D-line draft class in recent history.
Yeah, that's true as well. So, so many people get caught up in, was he a first round pick, second round pick, blah, blah. And, at the end of the day, it's if they're successful right now in the NFL, and given what Nelson was asked to do last year, I consider last year's success for him. And I've considered this year's success for him in preseason and training camp so far as well. So, Mike, I agree with you. And Real Talk alluded to Anthony Nelson, and Stunna did as well. So we're all pretty comfortable with Anthony Nelson. I think real quick before closeouts here on the Buccateers pod, Bucs Titans briefly. I know they got a practice on the 17th. They play on the 20th. Anything to keep your eye on this week, in your opinion, Stunna, as we move into practicing in a game with the Titans? I think that this will probably be the least amount of players we see against the Titans before we see more of a dress rehearsal in Week 3's game against Indianapolis. But any news or notes to keep your eyes on, Stunna, in your opinion?
I think the Titans take preseason more serious than us. I know last year Bradley McDougall was in the game in the fourth quarter. But what I'm looking for is, can we stop the run? They're a run-first type of team. Even if Henry don't touch the field, that's still their philosophy. And I want to see us stop the run, and I want to see us bang up their receivers. Other than that, man, this is practice. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about practice. So, I just want to see our guys continue. We lost to the Dolphins, and the Dolphin fans were all like, we won. I'm like, buddy, you beat our fourth string, man. You guys can't play with us. We're on a championship run, man. All we need to worry about is staying healthy through this preseason and worry about going to get this championship.
And we were at that Bucs Dolphins game last year too, Stunna. Their fans weren't saying much last year because we slapped them around, although they kept it close for, I'll say this, they kept it close for 2.5 quarters. Then at the time, crazy man Antonio Brown literally did some pizzazz all over him, and he went off that game. That was one of the last true games that we were able to enjoy prime Antonio Brown in Tampa. Mike, was fun, guys. Got a grilling time. See you next week. Thanks for tuning in, and we're about to hop out soon as well. Real Talk Perez, what's your thoughts and input on Bucks Titans practice? Allen Iverson would say practice and preseason game.
I'm just looking for more of us running the ball. Not necessarily for the running backs. I think we know what we got as far as running backs, to be honest. But more as far as the O line. I want to see our O line push more people out of the way and create holes for these running backs. So I want to look for that for our O line to be more aggressive, kind of like that second joint practice with the Dolphins where they started fighting. And then all of a sudden, our O-line started punching them in the mouth and started running the ball good. Like, that's what we need to have, that mindset with these O-linemen, especially since Ryan Jensen's not there to give that attitude. This O-line needs to get that attitude. I want to see some O-linemen push some people around. That, and I want to see some more from number, 53, Fata Kasi. I want to see more from our young linebackers, KJ Britt, him, number 53. I want to see some more from them and see maybe we have a little something as far as backing up the inside linebackers. So that's what I'm looking for in these next practices in preseason with the Titans.
Yeah, and that's a good point as well, because we do have guys like Britt and number 53, Grant Sword, all these guys, but none of them really proven yet. So you got to hope that they shape up or show out in these coming weeks in the preseason to give us some assurance, just in case that Devin White or Levante David go down like we've seen time to time the past couple seasons, whether it's been injuries or COVID for those guys. So we've missed both of them at times, and let's hope we could get some good backup linebacker. And I agree with the O-lineman, man. It's good to see some nitty-gritty fight in those guys. We take a lot of quote-unquote nasty O-linemen out of college, like a Gedeke, or before, it was Alex Kappa, Ali Marpet, the nasty type guys. Ryan Jensen was brought here. So I think that's a good point. One thing is this, I'll say before we get to closeouts, I think I'm looking forward to, honestly, just seeing the development and battle for that last couple wide receiver spots, and seeing these guys continue to take place, take shape, go up against a new defense, a fresh look defense. So far, Miami, now you're getting Tennessee, and then you close out, no practices, but a good opponent in Indianapolis. You're going to really see in the next couple weeks what wide receiver kind of continues to make their way up the chart. A Tompkins, a Stern, a Kalen Geiger, who's our guy. So let's go Kalen Geiger, baby. I'm rooting for all these dudes. I like them all, but Kalen Geiger, my friend, let's do it. And it's already at an hour and damn near 10 minutes on the Buccateers podcast. We have been live, and it has been a wonderful show on a Sunday. We had a great guest, Real Talk Perez. Real Talk, as we close out here, what's your walk-off of the show, or one big thing to look into this upcoming Bucs season? We hope we could bring you back on and perhaps chat some more about Bucs football during the season.
Listen, anybody want to talk Buccaneers football, I am here, man. It might be a little hard to get a hold of me, but you can reach me on Twitter easily. And if I got time, I'll talk Bucs football all day. As far as the season, what I'm really looking for, as far as the defense, I really believe that we have the best front seven in football, especially when we start blitzing Levante and Devin. I think Devin's taken a big leap this year. And I also truly believe that our secondary is taking a big leap this year, even with that second joint practice where everyone was saying that Tua was lighting our secondary up. If you actually watch a lot of those highlights, you see Mike Edwards right there ready to pop him if it was a real game. So a lot of those times it's our safeties like undercutting, but kind of like backing up, like I'm not going to hit him, like, So I think our secondary is really getting good at, like they say in press conference, passing off their wide receivers to the next coverage. They're really understanding where their help is coming from, and I think Logan Ryan helping them out as well. I think it's going to be big. I think we're going to have a huge defense year this year. And as far as offense, I want to see that run game. I want to see that run game be nasty. I'm not talking about home run hit. Nah, I'm talking about Rashad White, 4 yards, 5 yards, 4 yards, 5 yards. They can't stop us. We're slowly killing them. That's what I would love to see. So
Yeah, methodical run game.
yeah.
You know, you take the heart and soul out of him, like those old Patriots teams where you have 5 to 10, not 10, but you got 3 to 5 ball carriers that are kind of swapping in and out, and you get the 4 to 5 yards here, you get the 3 yards here, then you get the 10 to 12 yard run here. Next thing you know, defense, their hands are on their hips, huffing and puffing. They really can't keep up, and I think that's a good point as well. We heard Todd Bowles allude to it earlier this year. Is we have a late viewer, Vera, watching on Facebook. We appreciate you tuning in. But Todd Bowles alluded to it. He wasn't happy with how hard the Dolphins were going at times. Perhaps he said, how hard they're hitting and stuff caused a couple injuries. So you best bet, Bowles told the Bucs or our guys, hey, lighten up a little bit out there. A guy like Edwards, as you said numerous times, could add a lot of toe meets leather out there on the football field, a lot of big hits, as Gene Deckeroff would say. So I'm excited that with the Logan Ryan and Keanu Neal additions to the secondary, Zion McCollum, I have big hopes for as well. So, a couple of guys back there could go a long way, and I think that's a great thing to look out for as well. So we'll close out with Stunna. Stunna, any closeout you got? Anything to keep an eye on for this football season, or any last things you want to get off to Real Talk Perez?
Yeah, I had some questions I want to hit Real Talk Perez with. Since we're short on time, I'm going to throw them all out at once, and then he can answer which ones he wants to.
Oh,
so
take your time, brother. Keep going.
We have Matt Ultimate on. We talked about the Buccaneer roster. On the show, I said I feel that the Madden has sized our Buccaneers D-line, O-line, and secondary. So if you feel that we're being disrespected in the roster rankings as well, what can we do about it? Second question, the Buckaholics of California. We hear great things about them on our coast. We're wondering if you've ever partied with those guys and what kind of impact they had. Third question is, we travel at San Francisco this year. Are you going to make the drive up to San Fran and see how our team looks on the West Coast? And do you anticipate a lot of Buccaneer fans being in attendance?
So first part with Madden, the truth is Madden is a broken game. That's one. So because it's a broken game, they can't be realistic with the Buccaneers roster. If there was to be realistic with the Buccaneers roster, it just wouldn't be fair. Right? If we was to be realistic what Levante David is, what Devin White is, what Antoine Winfield Jr., Vita Vea, like Shaq, oh my gosh, Shaq Barrett, Jesus, Shaq Barrett, Mike Evans, Mike Evans is the most disrespected person in when you talk about football, not even the NFL. When you talk about football, Mike Evans is the most disrespected person ever. But yeah, it just wouldn't be fair. The game would be so unbalanced. But we've seen it before, even before we were as high powered as we are now. We've seen it before. Levante never got the respect or the ratings he should have got. Madden just is not, they're not good at that. As far as the Buckaholics, is Buckaholics, right? From California?
Yes, sir.
I live in Vegas now. I've been living in Vegas for like the last 10 years. But I have heard of them. I never got a chance to hang out with them. There's actually, I believe, a Buccaneers group out here in Vegas that has hit me up on Facebook a few times, and I haven't gone with them. I've kind of been a go to work and come home guy since I've been living in Vegas. I finally took care of my personal life. So this year, next year, and from here on out, I'm going to be going out a lot more and, living life, you can say. So yeah, I haven't really, but I did hear good things about them as well. What was the third question?
Oh, I was asked about a San Francisco trip, but if you're in Vegas, you're probably closer to go to Arizona, right? To the Cardinals game.
Yeah. Most likely.
Are you making any road trips this year?
You know what? I'm not sure. Like I said, my financial situation, I'm not sure. I'm finally in a place where I want to be. So I'm got to see how things fall together. So I know the stuff with Brady, man. Brady's tickets be expensive.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
and I like to be close.
The prices got up there with Brady, man. I mean, the Bucs were never cheap, but with Brady, whew.
we had the game here in Vegas because I'm in Vegas. So we had the Raiders game the first year with Brady. But man, them tickets, I was like, yeah, I wish I would have went, but those tickets, and I definitely wasn't in the right place in my personal life to spend that money. So yeah.
And it was, I think that was during COVID too. So the prices were probably even,
Yeah.
Well, we'll get together, man. We've been talking about going to the Senior Bowl here for years, and you know, we're all fairly young, so at some point, I'm sure we're going to meet up at some Bucs function and have a great time.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be a lot of fun. Real Talk Perez, any last words for the pod before we bounce out of here? We're sorry we kept you so long, but it was a fun time.
No worries. Like I said, I talk football, Buccaneers football all day. I appreciate you guys having me on here, man. Great football talk. Everybody in the comments section, shout out to you guys. Hit the like button if you haven't yet, because it's great football content here. And yeah, man, that's it, man. I appreciate being here. Let's do it again whenever.
Yeah, you're more than welcomed on whenever. Thanks again, Stunna, for working that out. I don't know why I never thought of that myself. You know, it's nice having other people helping out, getting guests on and whatnot. So, Stunna, appreciate you setting this up.
We're gonna keep building this up, and then maybe one of us could appear on Real Talk Show. Buccaneers got the best social media presence, man. The Buccaneers for years now. Buccaneers got the best social media presence on YouTube. So we gotta, you know, we're a Buck family. At the end of the day, it's us versus the world. We're gonna come on in and mutiny and marauder and invade these other fan bases until they convert or get blown up by the cannons.
Yes, sir.
And I don't think I could compete with that as a closeout. Fire the damn cannons. If you're a bandwagoner, join the ship. We might like you, we might not, but nonetheless, we love the money you provide for the city and for the organization of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's been so real, no pun intended, with Real Talk Perez. It's been a great freaking time, and honestly, he's been one of the best guests we've had in a while, just shooting the shit about football, man. Time flies, and you have so much fun. So it's been an honor, brother. Thanks again, my friend.
Thank you.
And that's been Real Talk Perez, ladies and gentlemen, on the Buccateers podcast. And we're about to log off here as well. On behalf of Tampa Tones, Stunna, and the rest of the guys as well, this has been the Buccateers podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll get back with you guys sometime next week here on the Buccateers. Game on Sunday, man. I know you're nervous for the Rams, but you got to be a little enthusiastic after being there.
Bro, that game atmosphere was ridiculous. The energy, the electricity. That place was rocking. Anyone was there, and a lot of the Super Buck fans were there too. These Bucks.
Tampa Tones. We are joined by Lee Goon tonight, host of the Pat and Aaron Show of WDAE, Pat Donovan. And it sounds like Stunna is bumbling a little bit. Going to put him on mute for a second until that gets a little clear. But we're joined by Pat
It looks like
Donovan.
Stunna's hanging out with Cheech and Chong in a car with the windows up or something over there.
It does look like we got a little.
No, my camera's broke.